Hey guys, how's it going? CoderMan here. In today's video, I'm going to explain why you haven't seen GT4 content in probably about 6 months. So as you can probably tell from the title, the reason you haven't seen GT4 content is I no longer own the vehicle. And I'm sure you're also wondering, why would that be, considering that, I always had it on Instagram, I always had it on my YouTube, you saw me in person with it, whatever. Why is it all of a sudden it just disappeared? Well, let's start at the beginning of the story. So for those who don't know, I picked up the GT4 in Colorado after flying out from Boston with my son, and we actually ended up driving it home about 2,200 miles. So actually getting the car was kind of a, sort of lifelong goal. I always wanted a more sporty car. I've always liked Porsche. Actually, kind of a little interesting fact, I built the mobile app for Porsche for the Cayman, which of course is where the GT4 was born from. It's on the Cayman platform. The problem is that I built it in hopes to actually build it out, do cool things with it, travel with it, track it, make content on it, just kind of, experience it as well as share it with the community. That was kind of the point. And the problem for me was simply the channel didn't really do too well with the content. I got super busy with work and couldn't track it or do, fun things with it. And quite frankly, Porsche from the factory made it pretty damn awesome. So there really wasn't much that I could do on it. And honestly, the only thing I changed was the exhaust. My buddy from Valvetronic Designs hooked me up with, an awesome deal on a valved exhaust with forged carbon tips. So I changed that, but other than that, there was really nothing else that I could do to it. I contemplated changing wheels, all sorts of different things. So I kind of went a different direction and just enjoyed the car and made content on ownership of it, but not doing like a crazy build or breaking things or any of the stuff, the cliche things you see on YouTube. I just didn't want to do that. So then the pandemic hit, and unfortunately, I didn't get to do many events. Lots of things were closed. People weren't, getting together. And that was the perfect car for that time because I was able to just drive. It was freeing. It had a really horrible sound system, but I just didn't care. I almost never listened to music. I mean, it didn't even have CarPlay. I actually was hooked up to wireless Bluetooth. Sounded horrible, dropped out, all sorts of things. But I really just didn't care, right? It was just a really fun car to drive. The longer I owned it, and, full disclosure, I'm honest on this channel with everything. I didn't pay cash for it. I had a loan. It had an expensive monthly payment, as it's an expensive car. And it was sitting in the garage a lot. I'm paying insurance on it. I'm paying loan payments. I'm paying interest, all that good stuff. And I'm not really utilizing it as much as I really wanted to or thought I could. Add to around this time last fall, or kind of summer fall, the market kind of just exploded and cars were few and far between. I thought of upgrading, but honestly, everything that I wanted was almost $200,000. I have some great buddies that are in the car industry, and one in particular that kind of told me, you could sell it for probably what you paid for it with maybe a little bit off. But the cool thing is, I owned it for almost 2 years, and I put about 11,000 miles on it, which doesn't seem like a lot, but keep in mind, I just drove it for fun. I didn't commute or do long drives other than, of course, driving it home. So I'm sure you're asking yourself, if you enjoyed the car and, you were having fun with it, why would you get rid of it? And really, I think it came down to I just wasn't using it enough. I wanted to move on to something else. Creating content on it wasn't fun for me because the thing is, I never want to create content just because I have to make a video. I always want to create content that I'm doing something or it's interesting. I hope you guys find it interesting. Like, you're never going to find me just creating content because I have to. And quite honestly, I don't, because this isn't my job. I do YouTube for fun. But between that and being able to get almost all my money back out of it after putting 11,000 miles on it, it just made sense to get rid of it. As far as ownership of the Porsche GT4, I absolutely loved it. It was a fun car to track. It was a fun car to daily drive. It was cool to teach my wife how to drive a manual or kind of get started on that. We have some more lessons, of course. And honestly, I'm going to have to get another manual car. Technically, the Mustang is one, but it's a little hard to drive with no interior, no engine. But overall, I really enjoyed it. I didn't work on it too much simply because, one, it was under extended warranty, and two, it was a little daunting to have to take out the interior to even get to the engine. As far as oil changes and stuff, the cost to have an oil change done at the dealership versus do it myself with all the stuff that was required and disposal fees and everything, it kind of worked out like I'd save $30. Outside of that, I did put winter tires on it. It was fun to drive in the winter. I will create another video, as a couple people have asked me on, in the comments or DM'd on Instagram and stuff, like, what was the total cost of ownership? Would you recommend it? A couple people have asked me, do I recommend it as a first car? I don't. Aside from the cost, I mean, hey, if your finances are in order and you can buy it as your first car, then by all means go do it. But I think, you know, being a rear-wheel drive mid-engine platform, I think it can really get away from you. And it didn't have a ton of horsepower, but it also didn't have a ton of weight. So it was peppy. It was definitely peppy. You know, it was super obnoxious in town and like kind of just driving in slow roads and things like that, because you could do 80 miles an hour in second gear. In fact, a lot of people, they own the car longer, they will actually modify it so that they basically change the gearing so that it's not as, you know, not as open in second gear. I kind of wish I could have owned it longer. It made financial sense to get out of it. We want to buy another rental property, and the only way that we're going to be able to do that is if we actually have cash on hand. So with the market going the way that it is, I think there's going to be some buying opportunities soon. So you're not going to see me buying flashy things right now. Like I said, I am working on the Mustang, and I actually am building up my garage. I'll be making some videos on that because I'm finally getting to buy some cool tools and toys. But aside from that, yeah, it was the right time to get rid of it. And I'm hoping that whoever bought it, because I know it's already changed hands, is enjoying it just as much as me, and hopefully keeps it for years to come. So I actually sold it on December 31st, right before the new year. And what's interesting is I also sold my bike the exact same day. So in the morning, I basically dropped off the Porsche to a dealership. And then that evening before we went out to dinner for, you know, New Year's festivities, I actually ended up selling the bike as well. You know, and that's part of the reason that I picked up the Mustang, was because I had some cash freed up. I had some garage space freed up. You know, especially with, you know, all the kids that we have and everything, I want to be home more often. I want to see things. I want to be present with them. I want them to see me be present. And I just found that I needed something that kind of kept me more grounded at home, but also would be fun and car related. And that's kind of where the Mustang came from. So, you know, if you joined this channel specifically for Porsche content, you probably already left because I haven't created stuff in almost half a year. And at the same time, you know, if the Bronco or the Mustang don't interest you, you know, you don't have to stick around, but I hope you do. And if for some reason this is your first video, I'd appreciate it if you would subscribe if you like Bronco content and Mustang content. So as always, I appreciate you guys checking out these videos. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.